We continue to honor the cover ladies of the latest issue of Charleston Women magazine. And as we've been talking to veterans, my guest today is actually a civilian. In fact, she is the senior civilian for the Army Corps of Engineers.
This is Charleston Women Podcast, where you can meet like-minded, strong, independent, professional, and inspiring local women. This is Charleston Women Podcast.
Now I would like to welcome to the show Lisa Metheney. She is senior civilian of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Charleston District. Lisa, thank you for joining us.
Oh, it's absolutely my pleasure, Erin. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So for everyone listening right now, if they haven't seen the magazine, you are one of the cover girls. So that's why we wanted to, dive in a little bit deeper and get to know you a little bit better. But I want to start off by, did you ever expect that you'd be a cover girl in your lifetime?
No, if I did, it was probably be like for Rolling Stone or something like that. So yeah, being a magazine cover girl at 51 is pretty exciting, and of course, my family is probably more excited about it than I am.
Right. Well, we just want to honor you and your service to our local area, to the country. On the cover, you were the only one that is a civilian, which I'm really interested in talking to you about because you work for the Army Corps of Engineers. Let's just go back in time. How did you get into this position? Because reading the article, you were one of the, I should say, very few women, right? In the beginning, things have changed, but you were kind of on your own.
Yes, that's correct. So I'm an economist by training and by degree. And while I was working on my MBA, I'd finished my first year of that and was looking for a summer position. I had a tuition waiver working for the university, but it didn't cover tuition or anything during the summer. And so one of my economics professor's mentors said that the Corps was hiring interns, that I should just go apply. And so I did. And the only thing I knew about the Corps at the time was they were the people that had all the lakes near where I grew up. I grew up in West Virginia. And within about an hour and 15 minutes of my house, there were 3 big Corps reservoirs. So that's the only thing I knew the Corps for then. And I fell in love with the job. I started in our planning group, which is where our civil works projects begin. Here in Charleston, people know the harbor deepening or the beach nourishment projects, but way back when, those projects had to be planned and go through the planning process. And so that's what I did initially for the Corps. I was one of the very few female economists at the time. Even at the university, most of my classes were probably about 75% male. And then a lot of times I was the youngest person in any of the meetings that I went to. So I kind of had a little bit of a double whammy there. But I was very fortunate that I had great people I worked with. I had great mentors, both male and female. And my parents, when I was growing up, they never said there were boy jobs and girl jobs. There were just jobs. And that, both my sister and I, we could be whatever we wanted to be. And I kind of took that very much to heart and just went after it.
Yeah, here you are. I like that you mentioned, because working in news, the only time I've ever talked to the Corps has been for the beaches, the renourishment, and the harbor deepening. So there's probably a lot of other things that the Corps does that we just don't know about or don't get as much publicity. So kind of go into the scope of projects that you have right now that you guys are working on.
Oh, my heavens. I tell everybody the Corps of Engineers is a little bit like Visa. We're everywhere you want to be and probably 3 places that you don't. But for us specifically here in Charleston District, we have 3 main programs. We have Civil Works, which I already touched on briefly with the harbor and flood risk management and things like that. We also do military construction at Fort Jackson. Fort Jackson is one of the 2 main bases where new recruits come into the Army for basic training. And so we do all of the large construction there and a lot of the renovation and their facility investment services. And so we have, since 2008, we've done $1.3 billion worth of work at Fort Jackson.
Wow.
And then we also do a lot of work for other Department of Defense folks and for other federal agencies. And we call that our Interagency and International Support Program. So we regionally, we support the Army Reserves, the 81st Readiness Division, 9 states in the Southeast and Puerto Rico. We also support Marine Reserves nationwide and Defense Logistics Agency nationwide at their warehouses. So anything the Department of Defense has comes through a warehouse. And so we help them renovate those warehouses and maintain a couple of those warehouses. So we like to say we're a smaller district, but with a very broad reach. So pretty much anything that folks in the Charleston area do, somehow there's a core project or core support that has touched what they do.
You're busy, is what I hear you saying. Let's talk specifically for you as the head civilian of the Charleston district. What does your day-to-day look like? What are your responsibilities?
So I'm responsible for all of the programs that the district does every year. So all of the different areas I mentioned, we do about $350 million worth of work a year on average. And so I'm responsible for that and the currently 240 employees that we have. And so that's everything in my purview. Every day, one of the things I love about this job is every day is different. I get to learn something new literally every single day. But a lot of my focus is on making sure that our people have the resources they need and guidance and direction that they need, and that they're able to do their jobs. We've got some of the very best engineers and scientists and professionals here in this building. So it makes my job much easier. I like to joke with them that they do all the hard work and I go to meetings and write sternly worded emails. So that's my job. But, it's also my job to provide sort of the long range vision and to be kind of the continuity. Our commanders change every 2 years. And so as part of that, my job is to give them history and context of what's come before them and what's going to come after them. So as they lead the district, they have that perspective. That's
interesting. It's a crucial role, I'm sure, as they make that transition. I want to go back to when you said you were one of the only women, you were one of the youngest women. Now, how have you seen changes? Because, I'm a mom, I've got 4 daughters. I would like to tell them, things are changing. There's no boy jobs or girl jobs, as you said. Anything's possible. Have you seen that in your career?
Yes, there are. I've seen a lot more women in engineering. In fact, our engineering division chief is female here. Actually, over a third of our senior leadership here in the district are females, which is very different from when I started in the Corps back in 1993. I think we see a lot more opportunities. There's fewer and fewer being the first or the only, which I think is good. We did just have our first female commander a couple years ago, so there are still a few firsts out there. Yeah. But I've really seen more expanded opportunities. Still at big senior management like where I am, there are 43 people that do the job I do at the different districts in the Corps, and 11 of us are female. So, not quite 50-50 yet, but much better than it used to be.
But it's changing. And I also want to mention that you received, it's the Flurry medal. Am I saying that correctly?
Oh, the Bronze de Flurry. Yes, ma'am.
Bronze de Flurry medal. What a huge honor for you to get that. For people listening, well, I'll let you fill us in, but it's a symbol of leadership and devotion to the engineering career field presented by the U.S. Army Engineer Association to only a few people every year. And you're one of the few that has received this.
Yes, the Flurry is in general, and there's different degrees of it, but it's for support to what the Army likes to call the engineer regiment. Mm-hmm. And being someone who's not an engineer but has received that because of the support that I've provided to the Corps of Engineers, it was very humbling. We've had several people here in the district who have received the Bronze de Flurry, in my time being in the district here in 20 years. But as someone who's not a non-engineer, to get that, it just meant the world to me. And it was total surprise, totally shocking. And my goal is to live up to what that de Flurry embodies every day. But it's just all the things I've done somehow have touched the engineer regiment. Part of my wild and crazy every day.
Congratulations. I'm sure it feels good to be recognized and know that all your years of service have led to that. What would you say to a young girl right now who might be interested in engineering, might be interested in the economy, like who knows what, but what encouraging words would you have for her as she moves forward?
Well, first of all, I would say, follow your interests, and don't worry if you're the only one. That's okay. But own all the things about you that are special. As women, we tend to bring a different skill set than our male counterparts. We tend to be better at coalition building and consensus building. We tend to be better, I shouldn't say better, more empathetic managers and leaders. And so don't shy away from that. Own that. That's something I use every day as I'm, pushing us to be more inclusive in some of our diversity initiatives, or to, help lead projects. You need that skill. It's not just your technical skill. But the big thing I'd say is, there are no boy jobs or girl jobs. If there's something you're interested in, work hard and be the best at it, and everything else will take care of itself.
I love that. And I do think we are seeing a difference, that young girls don't see things defined as we did, perhaps maybe when we were growing up. So because of women like you, I think the changes are happening.
Oh, well, thank you. I look forward to seeing when we don't keep numbers and percentages on anything anymore, and everything is well balanced out, and that the workforce reflects the populations in which we live. I mean, to me, that's kind of the utopia of where we would like to be someday.
Amen, Lisa. Amen. I love that. I have two more questions. First of all, you mentioned that you were part of the planning process when they were talking about deepening the harbor, et cetera. What are you planning right now that we might see several years in Charleston? Can you tell us?
Well, I think probably the most prevalent one is the district is working on what's called the Charleston Peninsula Study, where we're looking at how do we protect the peninsula from storm surge. And that's something that I hope that we'll be moving into the design phase and then eventually into construction. And while it doesn't take care of all the issues we have here on the peninsula, storm surge is a very real risk that we have here. And with the beautiful historic peninsula that we have, trying to minimize that risk is very important. Also, we've got some studies that we're doing on Folly Beach, looking at lengthening the life of that project. And then, we'll see what comes out of some of the future appropriations and other things that we might look at across the state.
Do you ever feel overwhelmed? And I ask that because these projects, there's such a large scale and scope. I mean, do you feel like you're making progress as a Corps, that you're putting a dent in these massive, projects that take years and years and years to address and figure out, and the environment is changing? All of that is kind of against you.
I will say that this type of work is absolutely a marathon. It is not a sprint. And you kind of have to be focused on the end goal, because there are going to be lots of things that change during it. I do feel that over the 150 years that Charleston District's been here, I do think we've made major impacts. I mean, everything from, we built the jetties in the 1800s that have allowed the stability of the harbor that we have. And the folks that built them did such a good job. we didn't even have to do any repairs to them until a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Building Fort Sumter and building what at that time was Camp Jackson. Those are big impacts to the state. Our regulatory program that balances economic development with environmental protection that has allowed industries like Boeing and Volvo and BMW and the Gallo project that's now up in Colombia, and I could go on forever and ever, and everybody would be bored. But I think those are all big impacts, and whatever that next thing is that comes along, the professionals that we have here, we'll take that on, and whether that's building the storm surge wall around the peninsula, whether that's looking at some other kind of flood protection in the upstate, whatever that is, we'll take it on and live up to our motto, which is "Essay ons, let us try."
There you go. And maybe in the next 150 years, someone else will be doing, podcasts will be gone by then, but some form of interview. And they'll be like, thanks to those people 150 150 years ago. We are where we are
there'll be holograms or mind melds or something.
You'll be like next to me and it'll be weird. We've talked shop a long time. Before I go, I just want to get to know you a little bit better. I see that recently you took a trip to Africa, was it? Tell me a little bit more about that and what you like to do in your spare time.
My trip to Africa, that was my 50th birthday present to myself. I had to delay it a little bit because of COVID. But it's something, oddly enough, it's something I've wanted to do since I was a little kid. I used to watch Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom with my grandparents, and I was always fascinated when they would be in Africa and they would be above the Okavango Delta and looking at all the animals from the helicopter. And I was, one of these days, I'm going to do that. So that's what I did. I spent 11 days on safari in Zimbabwe and Botswana. And then I did 6 days in Cape Town and 2 days in Johannesburg. And it's absolutely a life-changing event. I would encourage anybody, if you ever get the chance to do it, no matter the scale, big scale, small scale, 5 days, 10 days, 50 days. It's truly remarkable. Getting to see the people and the animals and a whole different continent was amazing. I love to travel. I've now been to 20 different countries. Wow. And 48 of the 50 states. I still have Alaska and Idaho to get to. So I really enjoy that. And I really enjoy reading and supporting the local craft brewery industry here. That's where my off work time is spent doing one of those activities.
I love it. A good book and a cold beer and
absolutely
planning a trip. Lisa, it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. Thank you for everything that you do for our community. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we go today? Obviously, thank you again, Erin, for having me, and just really want to thank all of the folks in the state of South Carolina for the support that they do show to our district here. All of our people, we live here in the state. We live here primarily in the Low Country, and we take living here in the community very serious, and the support we get from folks, even when we do things that they're not 100% happy with, the support we've gotten has always been great. And so I'd really just like to say thank you to everyone for that. All right. Absolutely. Lisa, thank you for your time. And this has been Lisa Metheney, the Senior Civilian of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in the Charleston District on the Charleston Women Podcast. Thanks for spending time with Charleston Women Podcast. Please like us and follow us on whatever platform you're using to access Charleston Women Podcast.